Welcome to the SEC Unfiltered channel, folks. I am your host, Dave Shumate, reacting to the last day of the regular season here on the hardwood. This March 8th SEC basketball reaction. Again, guys, I'm Dave Shumate. This reaction is brought to you by our proud title sponsor, our buddies over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Folks, we have an SEC tournament bracket ready to discuss. Now, we're not going to go in detail tonight. With myself and Chris Phillips, we'll do a live show taking your questions tomorrow night. I believe 9 p.m. Eastern. Don't hold me to that exactly, but I'm about 95% sure we're there. But tomorrow for sure. Around 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll break down the SEC tournament in full. But I'll bring up the bracket tonight. But we got 8 phenomenal matchups to break down. Bama gets revenge at Auburn. Arkansas holds off Mississippi State. Florida dominates Ole Miss. I think Kentucky gets one of their best regular season wins of the season at Missouri, a place they've only lost once, and that was to Texas A&M. They've gotten wins over Kentucky, over Bama, over Kansas at home. Missouri's a good home team. Missouri's a good team. Big win for Kentucky. But let's get right into it, folks, as we always do. Let's break it down. Let's go. Alabama 93-91 win over Auburn in overtime. Bama gets revenge at Neville. Nate Oates now 2-2 at Neville. What? No. Yeah, 2-3? No. 1-1 in 2022, 23, 2-3, I believe now. 2-3. Now 5-3. Overall against Auburn, though, Nate Oates is. Alabama shot 52% from the field, 31% from beyond the arc. Mark Sears, unless you've been living under a rock, Mark Sears hit the game winner after Janai Broome hit a big three off a rebound. Denver Jones made the extra pass. Janai Broome hits it, looking like we may go to a double overtime. About 14 seconds left. Nate Oates calls a timeout. Sets up a play. I like the good set. Starts off with LeBaron and Fileline. Remember, Bama learned from this. We'll say this. So I was going through the numbers, but I just want to – Bama learned from this. There were a lot of people killing Nate Oates about what happened against Tennessee in the last 35 seconds. They were up 4 in Knoxville last week, blew it. They win that. They get a share of the SEC title after everything else that's happened. But, no, I mean, it was a coaching – I mean, this is an overstatement, but malpractice. But he admitted it. He took fault right after. He said he lost in the game, which to some extent is true. They fixed that. They weren't awesome down the stretch, but again, they made free throws down the stretch. Nate Oates called a timeout this time to set up a play to LeBaron Fileline to get the ball to Mark Sears late for the runner. Things changed. Things changed. He called more timeouts, slowed the game down, cut some of Auburn's runs. It was one of the few times I've actually seen Nate Oates be very active with his timeouts. That's usually not the case. That would be one thing. Nate Oates is a million things. He's a phenomenal basketball coach. I mean, well, at some point, I think once his daughters get out of college, leave Tuscaloosa, he will be in the NBA at some point. I'm be willing to guarantee that. Timeouts and inbound plays are a little bit of his kryptonite or issues. Again, every coach has holes. Again, I worked college football for 10 years in the SEC. Every football coach has their holes. Nick Saban as well. But that is Nate Oates' holes. Timeouts and inbound plays. I thought he did a really good job today. Thought he bounced back from that. Alabama had learned it's 2 critical back-to-back losses they had, 2 games they had. They were up down 1 at half to Florida. They were up at Tennessee. They were up today at half by 3. So they were playing well. Again, since they've changed that starting lineup up with LeBaron and Fileline, I think Alabama's been well. Auburn wasn't their best overall effort. It looked like Janai Broome's a little hobbled. Chad Baker-Mazzaro gets ejected. And, guys, we got to say something. Simple, it's every game with that guy. It's every game. I mean, it's almost – I'm not trying to call someone a narcissist or something, but, man, it's like the guy gets in himself in trouble and then it's like, whoa, me? No way. You almost be looking at some – dude, I mean, he went total 4 elbow to the back of the head like we're in WWE Monday Night Raw, folks, to Chris Youngblood. I mean, it was an easy ejection, flagrant 2. Something's got to be brought up by the league for him. I mean, it is always every night he's getting some kind of tripping back of the elbow. I mean, you can't even argue it. He's always in some kind of scuffle. Again, I don't think it needs suspension or something. It just needs to be talked about. I mean, you can't deny the hammer in the back of the head. I mean, it looks like something Ric Flair would do to somebody, the dirtiest player in the game. I mean, maybe that's what we start calling Chad Baker-Mazzaro. But Auburn does need him. He's a good player, makes tough shots. Auburn's going to need him, but overall, Alabama 52% from the field, 31% from beyond the arc. Auburn 47% from the field, 38% from the arc. Only one, not that far off from what they shot from beyond the arc in Tuscaloosa, about 40%. Bama kind of dominated the paint though, and as much as domination as you could of Auburn. 41-33 on the boards. Points in the paint, 52-40 Bama. Thought Grant Nelson played really well. Clifford Amore played really well. This game was back and forth. Largest lead for Bama was 8. Largest lead for Auburn was 5 at one point. I mean, I really thought Alabama played one of the – they came back, bounced back. Guys who people were questioning after that Florida game. Again, Florida, I think, may be the best team in the SEC. They're playing the best right now. Let's put it that way. They're playing the best. I think in the SEC because now they're 100% healthy. Something we hadn't seen all year, just like Alabama. We hadn't seen them 100% healthy all year. But that was something you saw them learn. I mean, it attempted the hardest 7-game stretch in college basketball this year. Auburn at Missouri, Kentucky at home, Mississippi State at home, all ranked at this time, by the way. And then at Tennessee, Florida at home, and at Auburn. You go 3-4 in it. Probably thought you could have done a little better. But still, the resolve to come back and win a night, big win. Again, standings-wise, no. Auburn already clinched the regular season. I mean, at one point, I guess the good thing for Bama, you let Auburn cut down the nets night of their senior night. But Bama clinches the 3rd seed in the SEC tournament. We'll talk about that one a little bit. Going to the box score. Yeah, I mean, for Bama, 23 points for Grant Nelson, 8 rebounds. You had Clifford Amore with 15 points, 8 rebounds. Again, both those guys did a phenomenal job. LeBaron Feiland started off slow shooting, but he was a key reason why they won. 15 points, 1 for 5 from beyond the arc, 5 for 13 from the field. Mark Sears only went 9, but you could feel his presence. He was being unselfish, really helped guys out like Grant Nelson and Clifford Amore. Alabama kind of had a little bit of an edge to him today, too. You kind of felt like Grant Nelson doing the Crimson Crane. Like Alabama came in with a little bit of the chip on their shoulder. Aiden Sherrill won the blue collar points, 8 points, 7 boards. He's coming into his own. It'd been interesting to see how that game finished in Tuscaloosa the other night if he didn't go out with that head injury. I think they banged head. Was Elijah Martin, I think, or Will Richard, one of them. But I thought overall Alabama did a really good job. Aiden Holloway going back to his old stomping grounds, 5 points, 2 for 5 from the field, 1 for 3 from beyond the arc. Auburn, Janai Broome, 34 points. 7 boards. I thought Alabama's defensive game plan was totally different this one. They tried to double him a lot in the first one, and obviously guys like Denver Jones, Miles Kelly made you pay. This time they didn't go. They went a lot of one-on-one with Clifford Amore, Grant Nelson, Aiden Sherrill, and Janai got his 34 points. But honestly, he missed 13 shots too. It wasn't an overly efficient night. And again, he's usually a walking double. Didn't get that double-double. And outside of him, I mean, Todd Pettiford had his moments as well, did really good. And then Miles Kelly had 13. But outside of that, not much from Carwell. Obviously, points-wise, that's not his thing. He plays his role. Chad Baker-Mazara got ejected early in the second half, 7 points. But, no, I mean, for Auburn, it's not the end of the world. You've lost 2 in a row. You got to bounce back. You're the number 1. I still think you should be the number 1 overall seed. You have numerous more quad 1 wins over Duke. But Auburn needs to start playing good basketball now at this point. You want to go into Nashville, probably winning a game, and then you'd be all right maybe dropping one to a tough opponent in the semis, again, just to get some rest. But Auburn does need to start playing a little bit better basketball. For Alabama, since they've changed the starting 5, I know they've lost some games. But since LeBaron Feiland has been in the starting lineup, they've moved Mark Sears to a off-the-ball guard. Dude, the team's been playing really well, even in some losses. So maybe that's the springboard game. It really sends them into – they're playing good basketball right now, even with some losses as well. I'll just put it that way. Bama clinches the 3 seed with that win. Bama gets the 93-91 win over Auburn. What's next for both these teams? They go to Nashville for the SEC tournament. We'll look at that bracket here coming up next. Where do we want to go to next, folks? Let's go to Missouri, Kentucky. Kentucky getting the 91-83 win over Missouri. Kentucky shoots 48% from the field, 55% from beyond the arc. Cold shooting to start off, but, man, they started heating up there. Missouri, 43.9% from the field, 39.3% from beyond the arc. Rebounds, +1. Kentucky, 37-36. Turnovers, about 10. Again, this game wasn't that far off. The difference was just Kentucky shot 55% from the 3 off 20 attempts, and Missouri shot 39% off 28%. I mean, just Kentucky shot really well. 91 points on the road. We know they could score, but I thought this was one of their better games of the season, honestly. You tack in where this game was played and stuff like that. Andrew Carr I thought was really good for him. Can he get healthy with that lower back? He went for 16. Amari Williams, 14. Otega Owe looked really good, 22 points. He's kind of the straw. He's not kind of. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's got to get going for Kentucky to get in their own. 17 from Kobe Brea. Bench, not a lot. For Missouri, he had Mark Mitchell do his thing, but not a lot of help outside of that. I mean, he had Marquise Warwick come off the bench and play well. Again, Missouri's a really deep team, man. I mean, we say that all the time, but man, I mean, until you're looking at the numbers, man, that is a very, very deep team. They play a ton of guys from that perspective. Kentucky rolling into this one, folks. Let me pull this up, dude. Yeah, I mean, Kentucky rolling into this one. I mean, I thought Missouri would win this one at home, but no, very, very big win. I mean, just a big win for Kentucky, if we're being completely honest. Kentucky gets the 6th seed in the SEC tournament. Missouri gets the 7th seed. Again, there wasn't a ton on the line today overall, guys. Really, Auburn had already clinched. Really, who was going to be the 3 seed, Bama or Tennessee? Florida had already clinched the 2. It came down if Bama won. If not, because remember, Alabama was still a game up on Tennessee. And then we'll talk more about how the 6 through 10 race, which I thought was interesting, how that would shake up. But no, Kentucky, I think it's one of their better wins. It'll be interesting to see when Kentucky's going, folks. Just a tough out. Just an overall just tough out. I'll be interested to see. Again, we know they tend to take over Nashville. But again, SEC basketball is so good now. Other teams, Auburn and stuff, will be there as well. So we'll see how that goes from that perspective. Kentucky shoots lights out. Can they carry that into Nashville? I don't think they're going to move up many seed lines because, again, the NCAA Tournament Committee has shown us they don't look at that hard. I don't think it's too disappointing for Missouri and Dennis Gates. I mean, you're coming in 3 straight losses at Vandy, at Oklahoma, and Kentucky. You got to get it going. It's a team that it's roster. It's built for an NCAA tournament run, and it's built for tournament play. And let's be honest, basketball is a tournament sport. But again, you see they play 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, you got a lot of guys who play about 15-plus minutes, about 9 guys who play 15-plus minutes. Yeah, or 8, I should say 8. So, I mean, Dennis Gates got a deep bench, but Kentucky, I think one of the better wins of the day, under the radar, 91-83. Can Kentucky get healthy? Again, I saw Jackson Robinson's out for the year. Obviously, Kirk Creesa, kind of their alpha. So it is what it is at this point. That can't be used as an excuse. You know, going into this postseason, that is the plan. Butler now has to stay healthy. You get an injury there, I'll start saying, yeah, injuries were a big reason why. And again, it still is too. But let's look at it from a 35,000-foot view when you hang it up for the season. Like, you know what you're going into March. Mark Pope's a good basketball coach. They'll coach around it, folks. But Kentucky getting the 91-83 win over Missouri, one of the better wins of the day. Where do we want to go to next, folks? Let's go to Athens. Let's go Athens. Georgia, I think, punches their ticket to the NCAA tournament, folks. 79-68 win over Vanderbilt at home. Georgia improves to 20-11, 8-10 in conference. Lock them up. You get to the 8-win mark in this league. Your tournament team, 20-11 for Vanderbilt. 8-10 as well. So the same exact record. 44% from the field today for Georgia, 44% from beyond the arc as well. 38% from the field for Vandy, 29% from beyond the arc for Vanderbilt. This game was it was tied back and forth, but it felt like Georgia just kind of put it into another gear in the second half, outscoring Vanderbilt by 11 points there, folks. +1 for Georgia in the rebounding margin. Let's see anything. Both teams 14-13 in turnovers. Georgia's lead got up to 17 in this one, as we saw. Thought Asa Newell really came into his own here. That was what I had in my notes. Overall, though, I mean, it wasn't anything. Really, the 3-point line was kind of the difference. I mean, Vanderbilt took 9 more threes, 27 to Georgia's 18, and Georgia made the same. So that's why they were 44.4% to 29.6%. Kind of the game from that perspective. But for Georgia, 15 points, Asa Newell, 3 for 7, 1 for 3 from beyond the arc. Silas Demery went for 15, 4 for 10, 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. And their bench, Dakota LaFew, 14, Tyron Lawrence, 13. That's key. This team's a little deeper than people give them credit for. I mean, I think people initially just Asa Newell, they know. Blue Kane, they obviously know. Silas Demery. But I think we forget about Surreal. We forget about LaFew. When he gets going, he can really shoot from behind the arc. Tyron Lawrence, who I even liked at Vanderbilt. I always liked that addition when we brought that in. Then RJ Godfrey, again, I mean, it wasn't great today. 2 points, 1 board. Obviously, in the starting 5, you want more at him if you're Mike White. But you like what he brings to the table. Veteran guys played in a lot of big games. Remember, he transferred and played in that front court last year with Clemson. It was in the Elite Eight. But Georgia, big win, locking up an NCAA tournament berth. For Vanderbilt, it is what it is. I mean, big year. They're going to be in the tournament. 24 for Jason Edwards. Outside of that, not a lot of help. 10 for Jalen Carey, 10 for Chris Mignon. But you kind of got to get off the mat here. I mean, lost 2 straight versus Arkansas and at Georgia. But again, I think you like where you're at going to nationals. Have a good showing next week if you're Mark Byington. And let's get into the NCAA tournament. Let's try to get to the second weekend. I think this team, because they're so well coached, they understand matchups. I like what they're doing there. Georgia, man, give Mike White and them credit. They had a rough stretch there in the month of February where just things were not going well. Things were not going well. I mean, you lost 4 straight at one point. Now you finished the year winning 4 straight against Florida, Texas, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. Mike White had a way to keep it on the tracks, baby. Had a way to keep it on the tracks. I'm all over social media asking Georgia fans, like, what do they think about it after year 3? Now that he's officially making the SEC NCAA tournament in year 3. Interesting. But what's next for Georgia? The Dogs will be the 11 seed. They open up and play Oklahoma in that late night match on Wednesday. And then for Vanderbilt, they will play that second game in the first session, probably around midday against Texas. Vanderbilt will be the 12th seed. Winner will go take Texas A&M, and then the winner of Oklahoma, Georgia will look ahead to see Kentucky. Again, we'll look at the NCAA tournament, SEC tournament bracket as it gets a little closer, guys. I know you Texas fans keep talking. Let's go to that game. Game that just wrapped up for us in Austin. Oklahoma getting the 76-72 win. I think both these teams are going to miss postseason, if I'm being honest. Oklahoma improves to 19-12, 6-12 in conference. Texas now 17-14, 6-12 in league play. For Oklahoma, they shot 39% from the field, 33% from beyond the arc. Texas, 39% from the field, 38% from beyond the arc. I mean, I picked Oklahoma in this one. Got to my 100th win of the season, by the way. A little humble brag there. Texas out rebounds them 44-32. That was really that's interesting there. And still won the basketball game. Getting out double, but what's the points in the paint there? 28. So didn't capitalize as much. Largest lead for both teams was 6. Yeah, I mean, Bryce Goodine, I mean, he was big for Oklahoma. Made a late 3 there in the corner. 21 points for Jordan Pope. Quiet night for Trey Johnson. I mean, give Oklahoma, give Porter Moser and the boys credit. I think they still got to go win multiple games in Nashville. Texas is in that boat now as well. But Jalen Moore went for 10, Jeremiah Fears with 13, Duke Miles with 11, Bryson Goodine with 14. And they got a good bit. Luke Northweather, he had 10, and then Glenn Taylor had 10. For Texas, again, give Porter Moser them credit. They held Trey Johnson to 7 points on 0 for 14 from the field. I mean, he didn't make a shot. He scored 7 points all from the free throw line. Give Porter Moser and them credit. And give Porter Moser and the boys credit. That's a hell of a defensive game. That's the best anybody's had on them all year. But yeah, I think both these teams are in a hole. You got to get to 8 was that number you're automatically in. 7, you felt good, especially if you're Oklahoma, because you went undefeated in league play. But I still think both these teams need to go win 2 games in the tournament. Where do we go from here for Rodney Terry? Let's be honest. I don't think we're expecting some long run in the tournament. I think they ultimately get eliminated. They don't make the NCAA tournament. I think he's going to be fired. Where does Texas go from here? I mean, it's interesting. The Texas job, I don't mean to sound like this for the Texas fans, but when people leave, they kind of they kind of better their career a little bit outside of, Chris Beard's making the tournament this year, but let's be honest, he didn't leave because of on the field. Shaka Smart goes to Marquette. They're better. Rick Barnes goes to Tennessee. They're a little better. Granted, Rick had his fair share of success in Austin as well, but man, where does Texas go? Obviously you're not bringing Chris Beard back. Will Wade, with Chris Del Conte, but he before that, takes a special AD to mess with him for Texas. Who would take that job? A lot of people. Texas got the resources. The Moody's a nice center. I'm sure Nate Oates will get another call, but I'm sure he'll turn it down. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Do they go TJ Otzelberger? Do they go somebody like that from Iowa State? I don't know. He's in a decent spot himself. He's in a decent spot himself. But obviously, basketball's so different now. That's why I think Nate Oates is in Alabama until he goes to the NBA. Yeah, there are programs that have more success, like Kansas, North Carolina, than Alabama does. Yeah, but I think you're kind of the big man on campus, especially now Nick Saban retired. If you're a guy like Nate Oates, and I know you got what's my guy? Oh, bother me. Yeah, my guy. I know you get my guy Matt Campbell on campus at Iowa State, but still, TJ Otzelberger does a really good job. That's who I would call if I was Chris Del Conte. I would call TJ Otzelberger, see what he's got, see if he wants to. Wouldn't be shocked if he likes his spot in the Big 12. But again, the SEC, just such a rising conference that you at least go dip your water, see if he's interested, reach out to his agents, do what you got to do. But yeah, I think both Texas and Oklahoma aren't going to get it done in the SEC tournament, win multiple games. But for both teams here coming up, again, Oklahoma opens up with Georgia as the 14 seed, and Texas is just ahead of them as the 13 seed. We mentioned it, opening up with Vanderbilt in that second game of the first session. Again, Oklahoma will play that late game on Wednesday night against Georgia. So that's kind of my thoughts on Tay. Inevitably, I think something's going to happen to Rodney Terry. I mean, I just think inevitably it's time. You inherited what, again, you went to the Elite Eight 2 years ago, but that was really Chris Beard's team, and you've kind of regressed each year. Lost in the second round at Tennessee last year. And then this year, you weren't doing things good basketball teams end up doing, folks. But next, Florida gets a dominating 90-71 win over Ole Miss on senior night at the O-Dome. Florida may be the best team in the sport right now, folks. And certainly, I think the SEC right now. I mean, they're healthy. Were they the best team for the whole season? No. That was Auburn, folks. I think that's for the whole college basketball season. Let's call a spade a spade. I know they lost tonight, but it's the Auburn Tigers. It's the most complete, best team overall from a whole season resume standpoint. Are they playing like it right now? I don't think they're that far from it, but no, I think it's Florida. I think it's Florida right now. They're healthy. They're as healthy as they've been all year. Florida shot 49% from the field, 36% from beyond the arc. Ole Miss 33% from the field, 33% from beyond the arc. I mean, Ole Miss just couldn't buy a shot, really. I mean, they were led by Sean Padula with 22 points. Then Florida just dominated them on the boards, plus 12, 48-36, and then points in the paint, 32-22. So double-digit favorite by then. The largest lead for Florida was 22 points, 2 points for Ole Miss, early lead there. I mean, you even saw Chris Beard in between timeouts getting on Malik Dia about defending. And Florida is just athletic, physical specimens, especially in that front court now. With Handel-Gotten coming back, you got Condon, you got Chingalu. I mean, Thomas Hawk can shoot. He can go get boards. They just attack you from all over the place, man. They really do. I mean, they really do. Condon had 17 after the monster game against Alabama on Tuesday night. 15 rebounds, folks. 15 rebounds. Almost had the same amount of rebounds as Ole Miss had as a team in the early part of the first half. 10 points for Will Richard, 23 for Walter Clayton. Could see Walter Clayton go off in his last game. But, man, just Florida just kind of did what they had to do. Ole Miss couldn't get any shots off, and Florida dominated the paint. 22 points for Sean Padula, 12 for Jalen Murray. Only 7 for Matthew Morrell. What my guy Brakefield get? 9. Again, usually when those two guys get to double-digit figures again, it's a good sign for Ole Miss because they need that offensive firepower there. But if it's an Ole Miss, you got a big win against Tennessee at home the other night on Wednesday. You just flush it. Flush it, move on, get ready for the postseason. You're comfortably in the tournament. Florida, keep playing good basketball, and they may want to get revenge for what they lost last year in Nashville in the SEC Tournament Championship game to Bruce Pearl. And they could see him again in the championship because Florida is the 2 seed. They will be awaiting a matchup they got one of the double buys. They will be playing that, 7 p.m. Eastern tip on first Friday night kind of game against the winner of either of one of the 3 teams. The winner of the LSU Mississippi State first game will play Missouri. So one of LSU Mississippi State, Missouri is who Florida will open up with. For Ole Miss gets a first round bye. They will play the winner. They'll play the early game on Thursday against either South Carolina and Arkansas. Remember, folks, Sad Wednesday is no longer just 2 games now. It's 4 games. It's a full week. So I'm fired up for it across the board for that one. Florida gets the 90-71 win over Ole Miss. Keeping on here, folks. Let's look at this. Arkansas hanging on, getting the 93-92 win. I mean, we had 2 phenomenal finishes down at Auburn and in Fayetteville. Arkansas gets the 93-92 win over Mississippi State. Arkansas shoots 55% from the field, 42% from beyond the arc, 43% for Mississippi State and Chris Jans and the boys, 37% from beyond the arc. State had chances, nothing to hold your hat about. Arkansas improves to 19-12, 8-10 in conference. And then Mississippi State improves to 20-11, 8-10 in conference. I think Arkansas is going to be in the tournament with that 8th win. Would feel a lot better if they got 1 win. If they just beat South Carolina again, that's not going to help you. But I think I think they're in. Let me say it. I think they're in. But I feel really good if I was an Arkansas fan if they just get 1 more win off their back. That's kind of how I would feel from that perspective. Mississippi State certainly in, but for a while there, I mean, we thought Mississippi State was going to be a 3 or 4 seed. Now they're really in that 8 to 10 range from that perspective. Arkansas had a big lead, let Mississippi State come back. Josh Hubbard hit a big shot late in that perspective, but Arkansas won the paint battle in the paint 42-38. Go to the box score on this one for Arkansas. I mean, 24 points. DJ Wagner is a big body who can take guys off the dribble, get to the paint, be physical. Jonas Adu, welcome to the party. Been banged up all year. The Tennessee transfer, 8 for 11 for the field. Had 10 boards, double-doubles. Played well the last 2 weeks. Kind of getting healthier. They need his body. Again, they need his body because Big Z's still lingering with a lower back injury, and then Adu Thero has been out. Again, this is a very thin bench. So what John Calipari has done with this basketball team to come on late and secure an NCAA tournament bid, in my opinion, it's very impressive. So give them credit. It's a team playing good basketball right now. Trevin Brazil looks to come to his own, 11 points, 11 rebounds. That's a double-double for him. Nelly Davis looks as good as ever now, playing his main spot at the point. With 15 points. So Arkansas playing really good basketball. I think they're a tournament team. Mississippi State, you just got to get back. You got to find some ways to win games. I could see them playing well in Nashville, but 18 points for Claudio Harris off the bench. Josh Hubbard with a late shot to tie it up. Just RJ Melendez. I thought it was in off the backboard. It looked good from that angle. Like I saw Chris James was saying, just missed it is what it is. 17 points for Josh Hubbard, 4 for 16 from the field, 3 for 11 from beyond the arc. Cam Matthews, 13 points and 10 for RJ Melendez. This was a fun basketball game, 93-92. Mississippi State scored 92 points, folks. We are not used to seeing that. We're not used to seeing that. Both these teams will be in the NCAA tournament. Arkansas opens up the SEC tournament against South Carolina as the 9 seed, and Mississippi State opens up that nightcap at like 7 p.m. Eastern that I talked about earlier against LSU. They'll play the winner of Missouri, and Arkansas, if they win, will go advance to play Ole Miss on Thursday. Mississippi State is the 10 seed in that perspective. But yeah, on this perspective here, what can you say about that? Again, Arkansas, give Cal and the boys credit. Give Cal and the boys credit for battling it back with the injuries they came. Again, you can say what you want about John Calipari. Are there better game day coaches? Yes. But I think the way he's kind of motivated this team, kind of stitched it together, I think it's impressive. I really do think it is impressive across the board there. A couple more games to get to before we go to the NCAA tournament bracket, guys. But before we do, remember that when the game tips off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting. So even if you miss the first few minutes of the game, or want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, you can even combine your live bets in a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New FanDuel customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Disclaimer: must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, folks. Let's move on. We got two more, right? Yeah. We got 2 more games to get. Or no, we only got one. We got one, the final one. Kind of the least. I hate calling any one of these games. I hate to call any one of these. Well, no, sorry, we do got 2. We the 2 kind of meaningless ones. I hate saying that, but it was A&M gets the 66-52 win over LSU. A&M improves to 22-9, 11-7, 14-17 for LSU and Matt McMahon, who will be coming back. They've announced 3-15 in conference play. I mean, What else is there really to say about this one? I'm going to probably go back and watch the highlights of this one. Didn't see a lot of it live, but A&M shoots 42% from the field, 26% from beyond the arc. LSU 30% from the field, 26 from beyond the arc. Turnovers, both teams had 12. Largest lead was 16. LSU was up 9 early. LSU gets these decent first starts and just kind of just runs out of juice there. Wade Taylor, 17 points, 11 points for Henry Coleman. Jordan Sears, it's usually Jordan Sears or Cam Carter, LSU, 21 points from that perspective. They did miss Jalen Reed this year. Interesting, I'm a little just more interested in the whole Matt McMahon debacle, really. It's just kind of like, all right, it was year 3. A guy like Mark Byington comes into Vanderbilt in a tough spot year 1 and has them in the NCAA tournament, no doubt about it, heading into conference play. And then year 3, LSU's barely better, and they're not even sniffing the NCAA tournament. I know they were on the bubble, whatever, last year. They were like the next 4 out. Let's be honest. I don't care what it said. But I don't know. Interesting. I mean, again, we know it's football, baseball, probably women's basketball, then men's basketball right now. But you got to invest in the program, really, from an LSU perspective. You got to invest in your personnel. You see a lot of these other programs in the SEC doing it. But A&M gets the 66-52 win. What's next for A&M? A&M gets that first round bye. They'll play the winner of Texas Vanderbilt. We could have a Texas A&M second day matchup around in the midday, getting this in the evening spot. So that'll be interesting from that perspective. And then LSU, they open up the day. That first evening spot of session 2 against Mississippi State is the 15th seed. And sorry, I should have said A&M is the 5 seed. So they just missed that double bye. But not a lot to really break down from this game. Again, a forgetful season for LSU. Guaranteed one more game left. A&M, not always pretty, but again, I think they have a DNA, a style foundation that could get them certainly to the second week. And if the matchups are right, maybe just a short trip drive to San Antonio. Final matchup of the night, guys, where we review the SEC tournament bracket. Tennessee gets the 75-65 win over South Carolina. Now, if Tennessee won like they did, and Alabama would have lost to Auburn, Tennessee would have been the 3 seed. But now Tennessee is locked in as the 4 seed. They do get a double bye. South Carolina is the 15 seed. South Carolina is the 16 seed. Apology. Yep. But Tennessee, I mean, this game was tied at half, 34-34. Tennessee outscores them by 10 in the second half, as you can tell with basic math there. Tennessee, 54% from the field, 28% from beyond the arc, 35% from the field for South Carolina, 22% from beyond the arc. South Carolina out-rebounded them. I mean, pretty good day for Nick Pringle, honestly. Turnovers weren't bad. I mean, this game was pretty back and forth, honestly. Again, it's Tennessee's ceiling and floor, folks. That's the thing that scares me about them at times. They can play really bad. And again, South Carolina's not that bad of a team. I mean, I know they're 2-16 in league play, but it wasn't a roll the ball out team. I think this is a flush type of season for Lamont Paris. Again, guaranteed one more game, but I think it's a season you get back to the drawing board and prove that personnel. Let's see where we go from there. Again, because you saw some glimpses. It wasn't an overly talented team outside of Colin Murray Bowles, folks. I mean, Nick Pringle is a total role bench guy, and he was probably their second or third best player. So I think this is just hey, let's go get the roster better. Let's go invest in it. You weren't a terrible team. You could have beat Auburn at home. You could have beat Mississippi State at home. You could have beat Florida at home. I think Alabama was the only double-digit home loss for them. They had chances in Vandy. They had chances late. So it wasn't just a roll the ball out, we're getting a win. It wasn't that for the 16th seed. I felt that way a little bit more for LSU at times, even though LSU finished 15th. But for this game specifically, again, for Tennessee, 23 for Chaz Lanier. I mean, Lanier's getting a 3 for 8 from beyond the arc, 9 for 16 from the field. Very efficient night for him. Cade Phillips, good game for him, 15 points. I'm sure Rick Barnes always kind of on his ass, trying to get him. He's kind of being an X factor in that front court. 15 points, 4 boards. Good game for him. Jordan Gainey picking up for when Zakai Ziegler. I said it last week. When Zakai Ziegler went out in the first half with 2 fouls against Alabama, Jordan Gainey was the reason why Tennessee ultimately won that game. Remember, he had the and one at the end. That Alabama let him go court to court, floor to floor. I mean, give Jordan Gainey credit. He's been coming on, embracing his role from that perspective. 13 from Igor Milicic, who I've been saying all year is the straw. It stirs the drink from a ceiling standpoint. If he can get going, it helps Tennessee a lot. I just think putting the offense all on Zakai Ziegler and Chaz Lanier, because Chaz Lanier isn't a creator like Dalton Knecht was last year. We all know that. If you have 2 eyes, you know that. But Chaz can't create like some of these other guys have. So they need someone else to help Zakai Ziegler and Chaz. I'm looking at you, Igor Milicic. For South Carolina, 20 points for Jamari Thomas, 16 for Nick Pringle, 14 boards for Pringle. I told you, Pringle's played productive this year. But that kind of shows you the lack of talent on this South Carolina team. And then my guy, Colin Murray-Bowles, wasn't his best night. 7 points, 3 for 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from right in the arc. But when you're facing a phenomenal defensive coach, a phenomenal basketball coach, should be a future college basketball Hall of Famer in Rick Barnes, I mean, he's going to take away your best player and make you beat him with his left hand, or with your left hand, I should say. But Tennessee gets the 75-65 win over South Carolina. Vols get the double buys, the 4 seed, because Alabama winning, they stayed behind the game of Alabama. 4 seed, they'll wait to play one of these 3 teams. Texas, Vanderbilt, who wins that game goes to play A&M. So one of those 3 teams, A&M, Vanderbilt, Texas. For South Carolina, they're the 16 seed. Unfortunately, this year, the last spot. They'll open up the SEC tournament against the 9 seed Arkansas. If they win that, they'll advance on Thursday to play Ole Miss at the exact same time, folks. But let's pull up the tournament bracket. There it is, folks. Right there in all our glory right there. So we're leading off there. Noon Central, South Carolina and Arkansas. 25 minutes after that, Texas and Vanderbilt, the 13 and 12 seeds. And then 6 p.m. Central, we'll reset that, the night session. The 15 seed LSU Tigers will face the 10 seed Mississippi State Bulldogs. And then 25 minutes after that, the late one, they say 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. The 14 seed Oklahoma Sooners face the 11 seed Georgia Bulldogs. So as we go from that, I mean, just initially, I think Arkansas is going to advance to play Ole Miss. I think Vanderbilt's going to advance to play Texas A&M. I think Mississippi State will advance to play Missouri. And I think Georgia is going to advance to play Kentucky. And again, guys, myself, Chris Phillips, will do a live show tomorrow, guaranteed tomorrow. About 95, 99% sure it'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll take all your questions. We'll break it down in depthly. I'm just a surface level before I go do some – there's not a lot of research to go into it, guys. But I'm going to give you my predictions there. So at that point, you have Ole Miss as the 8 seed getting one of the buys. Texas A&M is the 5 seed getting one of the first buys. Missouri, the 7 seed, getting one of the buys, and then Kentucky is the 6 seed getting one of those single buys. And then the double buys, Auburn won the SEC regular season, as we know, so they get the number 1 overall seed. Florida gets the number 2 seed, I think playing as good at basketball as anybody, if not better. Alabama gets the 3 seed with their win today at Auburn, and Tennessee sits at the 4 seed. So all 4 of those teams will not play till Friday. I think Ole Miss gets Arkansas. You know what? No. Ole Miss gets Arkansas. I think A&M beats Vandy. Missouri beats Mississippi State. Kentucky beats Georgia. So that sets up Ole Miss, Auburn, A&M, Tennessee, Missouri, Florida, Kentucky, Alabama. I'm going to go Auburn over Ole Miss, A&M over Tennessee. So it sets up an Auburn A&M semifinal on Saturday. Florida over Mizzou. Bama over Kentucky. Then I think semifinal Saturday, it sets up a Florida-Alabama semi and an Auburn A&M semi. I'm going to go A&M over Auburn and Florida over Alabama, which gives us an A&M Florida SEC championship, the 2 seed versus the 5 seed. Give me Florida getting revenge on losing their SEC tournament championship game last year to Auburn. The game actually Micah Handel got and went down. Wouldn't that be amazing if he had a big game in the championship game? But I think Florida wins it. I think they get revenge. And they're playing as good as anybody because they're healthy, folks. Alex Condon's getting better. Michael Handel gotten just a deep team right now. As good as anyone out there. So that's how I would shake it out right now. So it's interesting how the top 6 seeds, 6 through 10, I always talk about that on every show, how that would shake out. So it shaked out Kentucky 6, Missouri 7, Ole Miss 8, Mississippi State, Arkansas 9, Mississippi State 10. Mississippi State 10, folks. Mississippi State 10th. That's a massive fall from grace. Remember, we thought this team was going to be a 3 or 4 seed, probably like when they played Alabama at the hump, and then and Murphy missed the point blank range layup to win. It was, that's about a month and a half ago. So like wild to say from that perspective. So Kentucky, Mizzou, and we thought Mizzou would probably be in that 5th, 6th range a little bit, and they faltered. Man. Wild to see, folks. But, man, I appreciate we have gone about 39 minutes now, folks. So I appreciate you guys joining us. We got about 900 in here. You're listening. I appreciate you guys. I know not all you guys are subscribe to the channel. Go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell for the SEC Unfiltered channel. Again, it's the best SEC content around for football, basketball, and baseball, folks. Again, if we start baseball season, we start conference playing baseball season next week. So, guys, there's no better time to subscribe because, guys, we're the big thing in the SEC. I mean, we got the title sponsor now, who I'm just bringing up now again. FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet, guys. So I appreciate you guys joining us again tomorrow night. Join us live, myself, Chris Phillips, 9 p.m. Eastern, but definitely tomorrow, talking all things SEC tournament, who we're going to win. We're going to predict every game. I'll probably maybe even have some changes again. Maybe Arkansas over Ole Miss came to mind from that perspective, folks. But I appreciate you joining us on this Saturday night reaction. The regular season's over, folks. The regular season's over. I mean, I still factor the SEC tournament a little bit more in the regular season because the NCAA tournament is a life and history of its own. But, man, what a regular season. Auburn, your SEC champs, dominant, pretty much from start to finish, the best resume. But I think Florida is playing its best right now, and Alabama may have got their springboard game today. Missouri and Mississippi State are those teams that have kind of faltered late. But, folks, I appreciate you joining us on this late Saturday night. For your head college basketball analyst here at the SEC Unfiltered channel, I am Dave Shumate. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow night when myself and Chris Phillips break down the 2025 SEC basketball tournament, folks. But can't wait to see you tomorrow. You have a great rest of your evening and Sunday tomorrow.